Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavit Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. In verse number 14, he said, Satatam Kirtayantaha. These devotees keep remembering me, keep understanding me, keep remembering me. Now, how do they remember? In what all ways they remember? That's what he's explaining now. Up to verse number 18, we have covered. What he is doing is, 14, he said, people remember me. Always they remember me. Now, how can you remember? One way of remembrance is just repeating the name. Another way of remembrance is glory, remembering the glories. When you just repeat the name or mantra, that is called meditation. That is not bhakti. Bhakti means remembering the glories. So if you simply repeat a mantra again and again and again, that is called meditation, not bhakti. Here we are talking about bhakti devotion. And bhakti devotion is remembering the glories. And what all the glories? He went on saying, Jnana Yajnana Chapyante, I am the Jnana Yajna, and then every part of Yajna is me, and then the previous verse is for Kadir Bharta, Prabhu, Sakshi, etc. All that he has been saying. So, the idea here is the way to remember me is to remember my glories. For you cannot remember me without my glories. As simple as, if you want to remember Sachin Tendulkar, will you say Sachin, 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 Sachin? Will you say that? If you say that, what is it called? That is not remembering Sachin, isn't it? So if you want to remember Sachin Tendulkar, what will you do? His father, his mother, his coach, his first century, his last century, the entire statistics. More and more and more you remember that, more and more glory is understood. One thing is to say he's a great player. God is great. One thing is to say God is great. But the mind doesn't understand what is great. How to make the mind understand it that it is great? That is the challenge. Linguistically, God is great is everything is implied in that. Linguistically. But the mind switches off. The mind will go into its own. The moment you say God is great and then don't do these glorifications, what will happen to the mind? Mind will continue in its past lingering, etc. Therefore, what they did, how to remember, Satatam Kirtayantaha, how to remember, that is to remember the glories. And in order to remember the glories, elaboration has to be given. More the glories, more the power. More the power, the mind surrenders. That's how it works. Again, I repeat. More you recognize the glories, more you understand the power. More you understand the power, the mind surrenders. Without doing any one of this, simply say surrender, 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 doesn't work. Krishna is saying that. People will simply come and say surrender, surrender, surrender. It doesn't work like that. The Vedanta class people have done, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. The only way to remember me is remembering my glories. And when the glories are remembered, it has to be glorified to an extent where the mind should be wonderstruck. That is bhakti. What are we doing now? Bhakti, we are intellectualizing it, which we are not supposed to do at all, but still we are doing it. More and more and more the glories are expanded. The mind is wonderstruck at that glory. The mind is wonderstruck and it says, oh God. That's bhakti. You understand the glories, then you say, oh God. That is bhakti. In that bhakti, what happens? You realize your insignificance. Karma yoga makes you to act, and it can make you to believe that you are very significant, you are very important. Bhakti yoga comes and makes you to understand that you are insignificant. Insignificant in the sense, it's not that you are useless, in the way that you that you are having an exaggerated notion. That is not needed. Okay. All the glories of God, ego attributes it to itself. It becomes easy. What are all the glories of God? What the ego will do? The ego will attribute it to itself. I am very important. I am very powerful. Without me, nothing can survive, isn't it? Where there is nothing, only Vedanta class and all, sir. If something important comes, Vedanta class and all goes in the back burner. Why? Because this is recording anytime I can, even if I miss, I can watch the recordings and catch up. But that I cannot do that, because that cannot wait. Why? This can wait, that cannot wait. Why? And it is perfectly legitimate. Don't worry. And it is perfectly legitimate, because Vedanta expects only a sannyasi to drop everything and take Vedanta as a priority. Vedanta doesn't expect any rest of the people to take it as a priority. It's only a sannyasi is expected. Only from a sannyasi, this ananya chinta is expected to drop everything and come to Vedanta. From the other three, from the brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha and all, go back and do your duties. Don't come and sit here, it will say. That's why don't worry about these. Don't go back and do your duties. Why? Because by doing that, one day you can be permanently sitting here. That is the vision. Are you able to follow? Therefore, in order to remember the glory and surrender, it has to be elaborated. As I said in the beginning of the 2 classes before, these few verses are the seed verses for 10 and 11. Third verse, we'll get fatigued, because how long he's going to say, I am. Third verse, we'll get fatigued. You follow? And why the glories ought to be given like this? Carefully follow now. This is the psychology of bhakti. Mind is comfortable with numbers. Mind finds its courage. Mind finds its courage. Mind finds its comfort with numbers. More the numbers, more the courage. Less the numbers, less the courage. You look at the bank balance. You look at your, what is that? Profit after taxes. There is a profit before tax, and then there is a profit after tax. And you look at the profit after tax. There is a fear, isn't it? If there is nothing there, there is a fear. So courage always comes to the mind from numbers. more it is, more the strength. Now in Bhakti Yoga, this weakness of the mind is positively used. It's a weakness of the mind. What Bhakti Yoga does, this weakness is used positively so that it is used for your development. How is it used? How is it made positive use? Every positive use of potanga. That's what he is doing here. Each and everything is elaborating and saying, this is me, this is me, this is me, this is me, this is me. So more you see, more the satisfaction. More you see, more the courage. One name you can say, isn't it? One name of God you can have. Sahasranama you can have, isn't it? Sahasranama is not repeating the same name. No. It is not repeating the same name. If you are repeating the same name, remember, that's called meditation. If you are repeating the same thing again and again and again, that's called meditation. When you are repeating 1,000 different names, that is bhakti. That is bhakti. Both are chinta only. Both are ananya chinta only. But don't mistake ananya chinta here to be meditation here. It is here sahasranama. It is not repeating the same thing again and again and again. Taking that one and expanding it into 100 and 1,000. And more the expansion, more the glories, more the conviction. What is the conviction? What is the conviction? I am in safe hands, I am protected. That's all. What is the conviction that the mind wants? The mind wants is conviction. What is the conviction? I am in safe hands, I am protected. Why? Because look at the glories. When you look at these glories, you understand that you are protected. This neutralizes the ego. Otherwise, the ego believes that it has to take care of itself, and the struggle that it believes that it has to take care of itself is anxiety, worry, tension, stress. Because it believes that it has to take care of itself. Krishna says, don't worry. You as an individual have a specific nature, will have a specific job, keep doing that. You as an individual have a specific nature. It's called swabhava. And bring in dharma to that swabhava and convert it into swadharma. And keep doing that. And I will, rest of it you need not worry. Why? Because rest of it is taken care of me. When he is taking care of it, how he is going to take care of it? Dhata. Dhata. Dhata means I will ensure karma pala dhata. I will ensure that the result comes to you. Neha vikramanashosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahado bhayat. Great fears I will protect you. He has already said it in chapter 2. Since it is difficult to understand what he is saying there, he is elaborating it here. Look at my Pashyame Yogam Aishwaram, he said, in the same chapter. Look at my glories. Yogam Aishwaram. Look at my glories. And more you look at the glories, more you know what certain extra burdens that you are carrying is not needed. What is that extra burden that you are carrying? What is that extra burden? Example. In the railway compartment, you keep your luggage on your head. That is the burden. Ramatirtha gives it example. The man gotten into the train and he's carrying the 3 suitcases on his head. So the co-passenger said, why can't you keep it down? He said, no. The train is already carrying too much of weight. I don't want to burden the train any further. What is the truth? Anyway, the train is carrying you and the suitcase together. All that you got to do is what? Let go of it and relax and enjoy the journey. Anyway, train is only carrying you and your weight. So all that you need to do is what? Put it down and enjoy the journey. Yeah. We all like the window seat, no? Isn't it? Why do you like the window seat? You can enjoy. Just take it out, and in order to drop it off, the mind will not have the courage to drop it off. The mind will not have the strength to drop it off. Mind will not have the courage to drop it off. So what he is saying, from an emotional angle, he is talking about bhakti. From an emotional angle, which is bhakti yoga, he is saying, when I am this, and I am taking care of everything already, what are you burdened about? This is how the knowledge of bhakti is also important before you do bhakti. So this is how bhakti is. This is how bhakti is beautifully incorporated, not as an emotional, superficial excitement. See, today, bhakti is not understood in this way. It is just a superficial entertainment. There are various kinds of entertainments. One kind of entertainment is bhajans, isn't it? One person will like to have Michael Jackson music for entertainment. Another person will like to have Ilayaraja for entertainment. Another person will have A.R. Rahman for entertainment. We are all devotional people, no? How do we get entertained? Haridas Giri bhajans, huh? It is an entertainment, that's all. It is not, there is no devotion in it. So how do we bring in the devotion? When there is an infinite in various forms that he is supporting, taking care, all that you got to do is what? Drop it, offload it. So whenever he is going to say, I am this, you should remember this 15-20 minutes of introduction that we are giving now. You should remember that. Since I am very detached from this class, I will not remember what I am saying. Huh? So you people should remember. I am so detached, I won't even remember what I said. So what is bhakti here? Because he said, in the 14th verse, he said, isn't it? He introduced it in the 14th verse. How do they remember me? Satatam kirtayantaha. How do they remember me? In order to remembering me is remembering my glories. And remembering my glory is not to say great. You have to elaborate that. What is that greatness? You have to elaborate that. Yeah. PS1 is a great movie, sir. Who doesn't know PS1? If people doesn't know PS1, they are not in this planet. Yeah, they are not in this planet. Some Narakaloka they are all living in. Yeah, some Narakaloka. How can you not know PS1? Anshu, you also don't know PS1, no? Okay. Some punya has to be done to know what is PS1. Yeah, a movie got released yesterday, that's all, isn't it? It's a movie that got released yesterday. And what a drama has been going on about this movie, isn't it? What a drama has been going on. The promos and talking and this, that to an extent where I got influenced and I am talking, no? அந்த அளவுக்கு போயின்னு இருக்குது எல்லாம். Now, if you have to see the glory of it, you need to each and everything is described in detail. The description is what helps you to remember the glory. Are you able to follow? That's why all these devotional hymns go into the details of descriptions. You take the Saundarya Lahari, Saundaryam means beauty. Saundaryam itself means the beauty. 100 hymns. He describes, Shankaracharya describes the beauty of goddess in 100 hymns. Saundaryam. He describes the beauty of the sweat drop, isn't it? There is one sweat drop in her forehead. Wow, how beautiful it is. The earring, and the earring that she is not wearing is not a what is the best one nowadays? What do you call that? Antique. Not that antique piece and doll. You know the earring that she wears? The earring in Saundarya Lahari, the earring that the goddess wears is a leaf is taken and rolled and used. That's all. Just that leaf she is using. That's all. And one hymn, he describes the beauty of that. So now, if you need to remember goddess in the glories, you need to know. You need to, more you can elaborate it, more the mind is wonderstruck. Opposite of this is an intellectual way of saying God is everywhere. God is everywhere. You open your eyes, you can't see God. Open your eyes, you can't see God anywhere. And it is impossible to believe, how can God be? How can God be here? How can God be? So you look at the world, you are very convinced that God can't be in anything, isn't it? And here he is saying, I am in everything. I am. So remember this. Whenever the glories have to be expanded so that you remember. Greater the expansion, more the mind finds it easy to relate to. And by this continuous practice, you become, your bhakti becomes subtler and subtler and subtler, where a daffodil can help you to go into the raptures. That's the ultimate. You can look at a daffodil and go into raptures, as he says. But how to get to that point, it's wonderful for William Wordsworth to get into raptures. The point is, how do I get into a rapture? How do I do that? If I have to do that, I need to follow this. I have to follow this method. I need to do this. With this background, we will move into verse number 19. Up to 18 we covered. Up to 18 we finished. We move into verse number 19.
Tapam yahamaham varsham Neghrannam yutsrajami cha Amritam chaiva mrityuscha Sadasachaham Arjuna Tapam yahamaham varsham Neghrannam yutsrajami cha Amritam chaiva mrityuscha Sadasachaham Arjuna.
I give heat, I withhold and send forth rain. I am immortality as well as death, being and non-being, O Arjuna. Again, I give heat, I withhold and send forth rain. I am immortality as well as death, being and non-being, O Arjuna. Now, what is he saying here? Tapani. He is identifying with the sun. He is identifying with the sun. He absorbs the water from the ocean for 8 months, desalinates it, and gives it back as fresh water, sir. Isn't it? You can understand, because Krishna is from the Indian context. So he's from India. So he's talking in the Indian context. What is the average Indian context? 8 months of absorption of water and 4 months of releasing it. Okay, that's a normal Indian thing, isn't it? So understand. So what he is saying here? I give heat. And he says, I give heat. The very life itself is possible because of the sun god. The very life itself is possible because of sun god. Sun, and what we have done here, we have seen this any number of times. Bhakti is not a factual deity. Bhakti is symbolic. Remember that. Don't take Bhakti as a factual deity. Bhakti is always symbolic. We know there is sun, and we know the benefits that we are deriving from the sun. Because of the benefit that the sun is giving to us, the ordinary helium gas, the hydrogen. What is sun? That whatever that helium, hydrogen is, becomes from sun, it becomes sun god. The sun becomes sun god. Are you able to follow? How it becomes God. So what is he saying here? I give heat. And he says, I give heat through the sun. So you know the sun, you know the size of the sun, you know all the PPTs that is going around in this planet, no? Size of the moon, size of the earth, size of this. Who knows that size? Whether who has seen all that? God only knows. But something is going on. But one thing is very clear. What? The size of it, the power of it, the strength of it is something that is inconceivable, unimaginable it is. And he says, that is because of me. And that is because of me. I give heat. I withhold and send forth. Nighrannami utsrajami. Nighrannami and utsrajami. Nighrannami utsrajami means I withhold and send forth. Now, what is this withholding and sending forth? That we saw already. It is condensed and kept with me for 8 months. And then I release it for 4 months. Why? Because me keeping it for 8 months and releasing it for 4 months is what keeps the fertility alive. Sometimes what happens, that 4 months also I will not give. That's called drought, isn't it? Sometimes that 4 months also I will not give, and that's called drought. And that drought is also, and this drought is also an essential part of the this drought is also an essential part of the cycle. So what do? I take waters. What is saying? I will take water and release it according to what is beneficial to you. I release it. That you don't know. This is where bhakti comes. Why this year full rains and why next year drought? We don't know. Why? Because he's saying, I release it. And when I release the rains, it's for your benefit. And when I withhold the rains, that is also for your benefit. So it's not that I take and give. I will take, and then damn Madri, he's saying I will release it. Sometimes I will not release it for 2-3 years. Sometimes I will not release it for 2-3 years also. Tapami. Tapami means fiercely. The word tapas is fierce. The fierceness with which I light up I heat the entire earth. With the scorching rays of the summer sun. That is what he says. I scorch the earth. I scorch. For 8 months, I scorch. And then when you understand the cycle, you will not blame the scorching heat, isn't it? You will not blame the scorching heat. Otherwise, you will blame. Why does he have to scorch for 8 months? By scorching for 8 months, he takes. Visraja, Nigranami, Utsrajami. By these two words, he's talking about not only it happens once, it happens again and again and again. The cycle. So, the cycle of life. What is saying? The cycle of life is maintained. Nigranami, Utsrajami is an indication to say that it is a repeated process. And this, because of me doing this repeated process, life is possible. Now you work back. What do you understand from this? From this, what do you derive? What is bhakti from this now? There is a cycle that is set already for our benefit. There is a cycle that is already set. And we as a human being, with all our collective intelligence put together, cannot understand that. There is a cycle that is already set for our benefit. When we say for our benefit means, it's not for human species benefit. It is for the benefit of the entire Jagat. Correct. For the entire Jagat, it is kept. All that you got to do is what? Have trust and faith in that greater intelligence. That trusting and having faith in the greater intelligence is what they call as Sharanagati. This is called Sharanagati. There is a greater intelligence. There is a greater thing that is deciding when to release, how to release, etc. Isn't it? Sometimes when human beings goes overboard, because only human beings go overboard. Nothing in nature goes overboard. Only human being does go overboard. And then when human beings goes overboard, warning signs will come. Isn't it? And the human beings don't pay heed to warning signs. Then what comes? Tsunami came, sir. Earthquake came. COVID, if tsunami doesn't come, earthquake doesn't come, COVID will come, isn't it? Something will come to, because the greater intelligence is working for the welfare. The greater intelligence has designed our welfare. All that the human being got to do is what? There is a greater welfare and there is a law that is maintaining that welfare. All that a human being got to do is what? Understand the law and obey the law. Instead of this, what a human being will do? The craving, the attachment, the raga, the kama, the raga, the dvesha. The human mind, being a victim of this kama, raga, dvesha, tries to violate all these. Kama means craving for what you don't have. One is a craving for what you don't have. Another is attachment for what you possess. Some people say, sir, I don't want new things and also, but what I have, isn't it? But I don't want it. I'm not a greedy person and all, sir. I don't want extra. Look, I'm not like these people, But what I have should not diminish. Isn't it? So one kind is a craving for what you don't have. Another is attachment to what you have. And then the third thing. What is the third thing? Dvesha. What does dvesha means? Dvesha is simply a list that the mind doesn't want at all. That is called dvesha. Dvesha means a list of things the mind doesn't want at all. And that list is very simple. Srikanth. அவங்களாம் இப்போ எக்ஸ்பர்ட் ஆயிட்டாங்க இந்த லிஸ்ட்ல எல்லாம், isn't it? The Sunday evening class people எல்லாம் பயங்கர எக்ஸ்பர்ட். Correct, no? And they know the list also, they know, isn't it? They know the list also. இந்த கிளாஸ் தான் கொஞ்சம் பேக்வர்ட்ல போயின்னு இருக்குது. Dvesha is what? The list that the mind has very clearly. What? I don't want certain things to happen. What are the things that the mind doesn't want to happen? Loss, old age, death, disease. These things should not come at all. So we have a list of what I want. We have a list of what I am possessed about. And I have a list of what I don't want. Correct? Ignorances. What is ignorance? The moon list is ignorance. Ignorance. I don't know. Classically, sir. Isn't it? கிளாஸுக்கெல்லாம் வந்துட்டோம் சார், எல்லாம் எங்களுக்கு தெரியுது சார் அப்படின்னாரு. என்ன தெரியுது? லிஸ்ட் 3 லிஸ்ட் தெரிஞ்சுதா? Ignorance means what? The 3 list. What is the list? You have a list of things that you want. You have a list of things that you are possessed and attached. And you have a list of things that you don't. இதெல்லாம் வரவே கூடாது. Isn't it? Even death should also, sir. Yeah. Last, at one stage, you ask for one thing, isn't it? Last stage in life, the person asks, anayasa maranam, isn't it? Death also should be painless death, isn't it? Isn't it? Wow, what a death is. At one stage in life, what does the human being want? What the human mind wants? No name vana, fame vana, power vana, position, nothing. I want only. So painless. At any point of time, pain should not be there. The human being a victim of these three lists violates the law. The human being a victim of these three lists violates the law. And wherever the law is violated, you are moving away from your welfare. God, with all his infinite love and compassion and all that, gives warning signs and say, get back, get back, get back. And the human mind doesn't pay heed to the warning signs. What is the warning signs? What is the warning sign? That the divine is showing all of us that you are moving away from the track. What is that warning sign? Srikanth, correct. Yeah. The Congress Mari Gai comes here, 5 update, correct. The warning sign, that 5. That 5 is the warning sign. What is the 5? Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya, Bhaya, and the pain and suffering that associated with all this is the warning sign that you are moving away, For this also we have a reason. What is the reason? I am not the causer, the other is the cause for this 5 also. Even for this 5, who's the reason? Me not violating the law and all is not the reason, sir. I am obeying the law only. Unnecessarily, welfare association is coming and irritating me. Yeah. In my parking space, somebody came and parked their car. Will you be happy, sir? How will I be happy when somebody comes and parks their car in my parking? Then what do I have to park it in some other parking? And then chaos it is. And what is the starting point? The other. Bhakti says it's not the other. The warning sign is you have violated the law and you are grateful to the 5. This is Bhakti. You don't blame the 5, you don't criticize the 5, you are grateful to this 5. Why you are grateful to this 5? This 5 is what Swamiji calls as mental agitations. It will produce mental agitations. Now, what produces mental agitations? I am elaborating what is that. What is that 5? Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya, Bhaya causes mental agitations. And these mental agitations is because of violating the law. And what is violating the law? You do not know that there is a law. But God, what does God do out of compassion? Even if you don't know, God gives indicators of the law. Puriliya, sir. Violation you understand. Tapamyaham nigranami visrajami. Again and again. And then classic Krishna. This is classic Bhagavad Gita. This is classic Vedanta. This is classic Krishna. I am immortality and I am death. He has to bring that language. He has to bring that language. And only when that language comes, he is satisfied, we are confused. Only when that language comes, he is satisfied. He can sleep peacefully. And we go into a spin. So what is he saying now? I am immortality as well as death, being, non-being. I am Sat, I am Asat. I am Sat, I am Asat. I am being, I am non-being. Amritam is immortality. Mritam means death. Amritam is immortality. This Amritam is nectar. Amritam is nectar. I am immortality. At the same time, I am death also. What does that mean here? The changeless substratum that's supporting all the changes. The changeless substratum that is supporting all the changes. So I am the changeless substratum. I am that which going through the. It's not that I am the changeless substratum and the changes are different from me. I am the changeless substratum and I am that which goes through the changes. It's like the gold saying, I am like the base metal and I am the ring. I am the base metal and I am the various kinds of ornaments, correct? So from one angle it is immortal, from the angle of the base metal it is immortal, from the angle of the ring it is mortal. So both are not different. So when he says, I am the changeless substratum that support the changes, don't think that there is a change that is, no, that is also me only. I am immortal and I am mortal. And then he goes on to say beautifully, I am Sat, I am Asat. Sat means existence. Asat means non-existence. I am the existent and I am the non-existent. What is the definition of Sat? And what is the definition of Asat? The definition of Sat is this. When you say something is existing, it means that is available for transaction in association at a particular time. It is available at a particular time. It is available at a particular place with its own set of properties. So a specific set of properties available at a particular time and a particular place. You can call it as Sat. This is the definition of Sat. And what is the definition of Asat? Whatever is non-existent with reference to Desha, Kala, Nama, Rupa is Asat. So Sat equals Nama, Rupa, Desha, Kala, all that put together is called Sat. It means, from this, what do you understand about Sat? Since he's using these technical words, he will talk a little bit technical also, isn't it? If it is available at a particular place, at a particular time, with a particular set of properties, it means what? It means it is relative by nature. That is why Sat is relative. World is relative. Sat is relative. Are you able to follow now? Relative means relative to the time, the place. When you say it is relative to time and place, it means it is existent at one place at one time, not available at another place at another time. That is called Sat. And what is Asat? When you say a thing is non-existing, it means again that non-existence is also purely relative. Existence is also relative. Non-existence is also relative. How do you understand non-existence as relative? For example, take this example. Easy to understand. When a person says, I have no money, it means what? Money didn't disappear from this planet. Correct? It is existing elsewhere. It is not existing with me. Correct? Huh? Again, when a person says, I have no money, he is not saying from the earth all wealth. Yeah. Green color paper, pink color paper, all got disappeared. Huh? Dollar is green, no? Dollar is green, correct? Am I right? Because I have this color things. Almost like color blind I am. Beyond the point, I get very. Dollar is green in color. Mahatma Gandhi is pink in color. Huh? No, Mahatma Gandhi is pink. No? Pink or red? 2000 rupees bar. 2000 rupee note. Adana vono. Pink dana. Venkat, correct? Pink color. Pink, isn't it? When the person says, I have no money, he's not saying that green and pink have disappeared from this planet. He's saying what? It is non-existent with me and it is existing with somebody else. Sat and Asat. Therefore, what we claim as existence and what we claim as non-existence is purely relative by nature. And that existing at one point and non-existing at another point is me, Arjuna. So, at one place I will be existent and I will be non-existent. Relatively existent and relatively non-existent nu ponnuvanga. Because if you say absolutely existence and absolutely non-existence, then you will have a problem. The relative existence, relative non-existence, I'm not able to understand why. Because buddhi is non-existent. Yeah. If the buddhi is non-existent, what will happen? The sat and asat purive puriyadu. How to do now? I'll give you a simple example. What is the example? A product or something is called sat because it is available for transaction. Something is called sat, existing, because it is available to you for a transaction. By transaction, what do we mean? Instruments can contact it. Instruments can that's what we mean by transaction. Transaction naka debit credit illa. Transaction nale abbi poidudu, isn't it? Transaction means that which is available for the senses to transact. That which is available for the instruments to transact. So it means existence means that which is available for instrumental perception and contact. Non-existent means it's there in a potential form but not available for transaction. What is there in a potential form but not available for transaction? Atmabodha, beautiful example he gives. Butter in the milk. Milk is existent, butter is. When you buy milk, will you say, I bought butter? Milk. And butter is non-existent in milk. When we say non-existence, means it is there in a potential form. You got to go through a process and extract. When we say non-existent, are you able to follow now? Non-existence doesn't mean zero. Non-existence means in a potential form it is existing. So existence and non-existence means I come into manifestation, I go into unmanifestation. I come into manifestation, I go into unmanifestation. What is potentially there in a causal form is called non-existent, and when it comes into, when it becomes available for transaction, it is called existence. This Bhakti is easier, sir, isn't it? Rest of the glories of God is much clear. I am sun, I am moon, I am this, I am that. Allah is very, all that is much, much easier than the Sat and Asat. But what to do? We cannot ignore that. Why? Because he's saying, I am Sat, I am Asat. Beautiful verse. Oh Arjuna, being and non-being. I give heat, I withhold and send forth rain. I am immortality as well as death, being and non-being. This Asat has the infinite possibility of the Sat. This is the glory of Brahman. What is glory of Brahman now? That Asat has infinite possibility for Sat. See, unless it is in a potential form, how can it manifest? Or if something is manifesting means it is in the potential form, isn't it? How many varieties of species, how many combinations, the mutations, isn't it? How many varieties, how many combinations, how many mutations, something is going, something new is coming. It means the entire thing is there in potential form. That potential is called Asat. The intellect opens up to that infinite thing, isn't it? The intellect opens up for the infinite. What is Asat now? How everything is held in potential form, and what is Sat means? According to time, place, and Nama, Rupa, Guna, Karma, it keeps manifesting. And all the potential doesn't manifest at the same time, at the same place. That's why he releases it in doses. Yeah. At one point of time, he will release it as dinosaurs, isn't it? At another point of time, he will withdraw the dinosaur and release it as, I don't know, human beings, whatever be it, isn't it? And then they will go. So this out of this infinite potential Asat comes the various Sat. O Arjuna. Verse number 19. So these four verses. Verse number 20 our geare matraru, tune matraru. Illaya Venkat. Or tune grammar matraru, tune matraru. Why? Because having said this is me, this is me, this is me, he recognized Arjuna ko purila. He is not able to, he knows that Arjuna is not, Arjuna lost. So what he does to bring the attention back of Arjuna, he changes the he keeps changing the gears. And especially when he talks about Bhakti Lada, you will find these kind of meter changes a lot. In chapter 9, you will find this meter change a lot. In chapter 10, you will find little bit. Whole of chapter 11 is this meter. And then from chapter 12, he will go back to the normal way of doing it. So, verse number 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Or you can take it as 16, 17, 18, 19, where he said, I am, I am, I am. So what you should do, you should make a list. So when you study, when you write what you should do, you should make a list. 16, what all he said as I am. 17, what all he said as I am. 18, what all he said as I am. In 19, what all he said as I am. What a list. Beautiful list. List kuda konjam confusing aagudhu. So what he does in chapter 10, he will take the Agama Purana route. From the Vedic explanation, in 10, he will take the Agama Purana route. Agama Purana route is talking about the stories. I am Rama, I am Arjuna, I am Krishna. He will take that route. And that route is, that route has a lot of, that is very interesting. Isn't it? When he says, I am Rama, we can talk about Rama. When he says, I am Krishna, we can talk about Krishna. When he says, I am of all the Vedas, I am the Sama Veda, you can talk about all that. Remember, these four are the seed verses for 10 and these four verses are the seed verses for 10 and chapter 10 and chapter 11. The sequence you must remember. What is the sequence? Seeing God in one deity. No God at all. There is no such thing called God in the first place. From that you graduate. What is the graduation? Seeing God in one deity, and God is restricted to that deity alone. And God cannot be in any other deity other than that deity. From this, you further mature into seeing God everywhere. And then you mature into saying, God is what? Is in every form. All the good forms only, no, sir. Bad forms, God is not there, no. Like Swamiji says. But definitely, sir, God is there everywhere, but definitely God is not in mother-in-law, no. How can you see God in mother-in-law? No. From seeing God everywhere into good things, and then you mature into seeing God good and bad. That is called Vishwarupa Darshana. Vibhuti Yoga is seeing God in all the good things. Vishwarupa Darshana is seeing God in both good and bad. In fact, there's no such thing called good and bad at that Vishwarupa level. Good and bad is in relation to what is good and bad. Good and bad is in relation to the list that we spoke about already, isn't it? What is the list that we spoke about? Moon list. What are the three lists? Kama, Raga, Dvesha. All that we call as good and bad is always in relation to this list. Vishwarupa says there's no such thing called good and bad. This is the reality. What is the reality? Whatsoever you see is God. And then finally takes it to the climax. What is the climax? There is no seer, there is no sin, all this doesn't exist. What is there? Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya, Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. It is Brahman alone is Brahma Satyam and Jagat Mithya. So at one level you say this Jagat is God. At another level you say Jagat is Mithya. Abdina God is Mithya and conclude Pandakudadu, isn't it? Jagat is God and Jagat is God, na Jagat is Mithya, na God is Mithya. What it means is that seer seen distinction. There is the seer seeing God. That distinction doesn't exist. So, how bhakti grows from no God to seeing God in a deity, to seeing God in all the good things of life, from seeing God as in everything, finally concluding God. There is only God. Just God and a isn't it? God. What is the answer? God. Because rest of it is Mithya. So he is taking us, what he is doing now, he is taking us through this journey. This is verse number 19. We'll take up a clarification and then we'll move on to the verse. Yes.
You said that Asat has infinite possibilities for Sat because it is existing in potential form.
Yes.
And in the previous verse, which is 18, you said Nidhanam is treasure house. There also you said the same thing.
Yes.
So are they same or different, or how should I understand?
The question is, in the previous verse also you said the same thing. In this verse also is saying the same thing. Is there differences? Ganesh. People should have some sympathy, no? Our part we are trying to put something into and make it look like, some reasonable thing we are trying to make it look like, and then you come and ask all these questions. From one angle it is the same thing. From one angle it is the same thing. What is the distinction here? Here he is talking in the language of the opposites. There he is talking a totally different language. Previous verse, Nidhanam. Previous verse. Here he is talking as Mrityu, Amrityu, Sat and Asat. It's the language. Now, if you infer it, if you interpret it, ultimately everything will boil down to the same interpretation only. Are you able to follow? If you interpret, if you boil it down, everything will boil down to the same interpretation. But you got to appreciate the language. What is the language here? In the previous verse, the language is I am this, I am this, I am this. In the last two statements, the explanation is he is speaking the language of, what is he talking here? He is speaking the language of opposites. What is the language of opposites? I am immortality and I am death. Correct? In this verse. What is the difference here? There is no difference. The difference is in the language. What you should appreciate is he is trying to repeat the same thing from various angles that you can appreciate it. What is expected here is to appreciate the beauty of to appreciate and understand and surrender to that infinite thing. Are you able to follow? In the process of explanation, we have to give a meaning to each and everything. What is the meaning that we give? That's why I said previous class, what we say, I don't remember. What is said in the previous class, we comfortably forget in this. Now, what he is saying here in the previous verse, what are you referring to? Nidhanam. Nidhanam is equal to Nikshepa. That Nidhanam, that Nikshepa, which is existing in potential form, is Asat. If you want to equate it like that, you equate it. It's not wrong. Are you able to follow? If you want to equate it like that, you can equate it. It's not wrong.
So there he says, I am Asat, and here he says, I am Sat and Asat.
You cannot replace the words like that. If for your understanding, you can interpret it like that and leave it. But you cannot replace the word of Nidanam as Asat. That you should not do. Nidanam has a separate implication. Sat and Asat has a separate implication. You cannot use it interchangeably. You can't take Nidanam and Asat and say, therefore, it is Nidanam equals Asat. You should not do that. That is a wrong approach to study. If he is using a word, use. If he is using a word, use that word. The meanings may overlap. So, are you able to follow? The meanings may overlap. So what? So what? That's poetry. That's philosophy. The same thing will be used so many. See, all has only one meaning. Why give 1,000 names? That's why we started by saying elaboration is required. Are you able to follow? Elaboration is required. Therefore, never just because meanings overlap, don't take it as synonyms and replace it. That's the very wrong way of studying the Shastra. You should not do that. Meanings may overlap. Even though meanings are overlapping, you cannot exchange the words. You should not treat it as synonyms. That's what I'm trying to say. Don't treat it as Nidanam and Asat are one and the same. No. Here, Sat must be in association with Asat. Mrityu is associated with Amritam. That pair is what he is explaining here. That pair is the explanation here. Are you able to follow? Therefore, don't mix it up and don't bring in, don't treat them as synonyms and all. It won't help. You follow? Oh. Already we are at the end of the class. Huh? I didn't realize it. Are you okay? Yes, Venkatachalam.
So my question, the abruptness of this today's the saying, finally moving away from Dvaita as a Dvaita to Advaita.
Yes.
I've been talking about Mithya, concept of Mithya. Everything has been resolved.
Yes.
And we talked about superimposition and desuperimposition and so much. It's finally manifestation and unmanifest form.
Yes. Yes.
So it is. So there's nothing like Mithya also. No falsity, no Mithya. So it's a major change. It's very surprising to come so quickly into this.
Yes. Good. You are following rightly. Correct. You are following it rightly. The sequence. If you go the sequence, that's why we say this knowledge is so beautiful. This Vedantic knowledge is so beautiful, so scientific, so logical because of this factor only. It explains it and then it exposes the limitations and takes you to the next level. It explains that and then the same knowledge exposes the limitation at that level and takes you to the next. Wonderful. Yes, you are right. Anything else that we have for today? Any other questions?
Yes, Manohar has posted one question. I'll screenshot that.
Manohar inga dhaan irukkrara? In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 9, para 2. Which chapter are we studying now? நான் 9 படிச்சிட்டேன் first. Yeah. So he's going back to chapter 4. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 9, para 2, Swamiji. Yeah. Our Swamiji no Sundar Mundadavanda, you can simply say Swamiji, isn't it? Manohar. Yeah. And ownership, you can simply say Swamiji while talking about one's experiences, comments. In philosophical parlance, he is dead at the first experience and born at the second. Correct. We say it at any number of times, we keep repeating it. Yes. Does it mean that any acquisition is birth and abandonment of the same is death? Sir, kindly help. Manohar. I didn't expect he will come back. Now he has come back. Birth implies arrival. Death implies departure. Manifest and unmanifest. Venkatachalam, it's the same thing. Birth is the manifestation of something. Death is that which has come into manifestation must necessarily disappear. So appearance and disappearance. Birth and death is appearance and disappearance. So philosophically, you are born in the first experience. As soon as the experience is over, that person is also dead. So another experience is by another person. That is why he keeps giving this to elaborate it further. He gives an example. The person walking into the room is not the person who's walking out. The person walking into the room is not the person who's walking out, because you have already changed. Change is a constant factor, and how change happens? Change happens by the process of birth and death. Change is a constant factor. Like they say, something that doesn't change is the change. It keeps changing. Now, how does the change actually happens? The phenomena of change happens by birth and death. So, a person born ten days back, you were born in Haridwar, isn't it? We were born in Haridwar and dead in Kolathur. Yeah. Prayers alone we didn't do. Yeah. You were born in Haridwar and dead in Kolathur. Only when you die in Kolathur, you can be born in Haridwar. Now that you are dead in Haridwar, back to Kolathur torturing, isn't it? Yeah. Back to Kolathur, irritating, torturing, even though we don't want. Huh? So, for you to be born somewhere, you have to die here. Or the very fact that you are born here means you died elsewhere. So, birth precedes death, and that death precedes birth, and the cycle continues. It's a continuous cycle. It's a continuous cycle. Cycle means what? Cycle means the origin will not be known. That is the cycle. Origin is inconceivable, is what? is meant when we say cycle. That is why, how did all start? Cycle the moment you understand something as a cycle, cycle means the origin of it is inconceivable. It's an inconceivable origin. Are you able to follow? Manohar. So, birth at the first experience, and a person is philosophically born. Philosophically born na enna artham? A new avatar, a new experience. Okay. Philosophically means factually. Factually means how really it is happening. Philosophically na theologically na artham kediyadinga. Philosophically na factually na artham inga. The word philosophy here means factually. Generally, philosophy nale theology or meaning irukkudu, isn't it? We don't take it in that sense. Whenever we say Vedanta philosophy, we don't mean Vedanta philosophy as a theology. Vedanta philosophy means facts of. It's a fact. So, philosophically means factually. Now go back to the question. And the question now go back to the question. And then you say, in philosophical parlance, in factual parlance, he is dead at the first experience and born at the second. Does it mean that any acquisition is birth and abandonment of the same is death? You can stretch it like this. You can stretch it. You can stretch it. Acquisition means which wasn't there at one point of time, it has come. That's what you call as acquisition. That's why we say acquired body. Body itself is acquired because it wasn't there at one point of time and it is not going to be there at another point of time. So, birth means getting it. Death means losing it. Instead of using the word abandonment, abandonment is an implication of a person consciously dropping. We will not use the word abandonment. We will use the word that comes into manifest will become unmanifest. That which has a birth, that which has a beginning will end. Birth is the beginning, death is the end. So, all that has a beginning will have an end. The good things has a beginning and it will end. Bad things has a beginning and it will end. Even this shall pass away. So, instead of using the word abandonment, abandonment implies a conscious dropping. No. Here we are talking about a cycle. A cycle which keeps, a cycle that repeats itself again and again and again. So, acquisition and abandonment as an effort-ridden acquisition and effort consciously dropping, you don't call it as birth and death. Again, Manohar, acquisition is effort-ridden acquisition and consciously dropping. We don't talk that, we don't mean birth and death in that sense. Birth and death here implies a cycle which is a fact. Are you okay? Yeah. Where is the Tavla?
Yes, Mala has posted a few questions.
What did she say? Sir, you said, think about the glory of God and let go of everything and relax the mind. In a way, it looks like Saranagati. When we are in trouble, let go would be helpful. Is it possible that the same let go would make us not realize our faults and change ourselves first? hence remain passive. How does one realize this? Bhakti without self-correction. Mala. Ipo, think about the glory of God and relax. Mind will relax if it remembers the glories. Mind will be relaxed if the glories of God are remembered. You don't think about the glory and then consciously relax and all. Relaxation happens by itself. So how does it work? You think about the glories of God. I explained it in the beginning itself. When you think about the glories of God, the very glories makes you recognize the unnecessary burden that you are carrying. So recognizing the glories makes you let go of the unnecessary burden. So what do you mean by let go of everything? What is the example that we gave for letting go of everything?
Train.
The person sitting in the compartment carrying the suitcase on the head. Train gulla poitar. Having entered the train, he is carrying the suitcase on his head. The sage sitting next to that man said, "Why are you carrying the suitcase on your head?" For which this person said, "I don't want to burden the train anymore, because already the train is carrying me." For which the saint said, whether you understand or you don't understand, it is the train that is carrying you and your suitcase anyway. All that you got to do is what? Take the suitcase down and put it. And then we continued into saying, you have a swabhava, you got to do actions according to your individual nature, guided by dharma, and then relax. So, Mala, abdina enna artham inga? You put in the effort and then relax. You do the effort and then relax. In the name of Sharanagati, people are saying no effort is required, simply surrender. Everything will be taken care of. No, that's not how it is worked. You do in your effort, as in what? Your swabhava, swadharma, karma, you do and then relax. That is Sharanagati. Why do you relax? Because you know what Neha Vikramanashosti Pratyavayona Vidyate. He is the Bhakta. He is going to make sure that he is Data. He is going to, it is going to come. Therefore, Bhakti without self-correction is not Bhakti at all. That is laziness. Bhakti, you cannot call it as Bhakti at all. That is chumma laziness. Artha Bhakti, Arthartha Bhakti, Jignasu Bhakti. Going to God for a material, which is not Bhakti at all in the true sense. What is true Bhakti? True Bhakti is what? When you go to God, the Supreme, how would you want to go to God? See, when you are cooking, okay, when you are cooking, if you are cooking for yourself, are you cooking for yourself? You are cooking for God, correct? Since you are cooking for God, before you cook, what you have to necessarily do? You have to be clean, no? You have to be clean and pure. Supposing if you are cooking for yourself, if you are cooking for yourself, when will you clean yourself? Huh? After cooking. After cooking, you will shower. Why? Because cooking is making you feel the heat, and in the heat you sweat. Therefore, might as well sweat fully and then shower nicely and sit and indulge. Mala, are you able to follow the difference? So what is bhakti? What is bhakti? When you are approaching the highest, when you go for a job interview, how will you go? You will say, I'll finish off all the interview and then I'll come and have a shower. When you go to meet the Prime Minister, how you will go? Correct? That is why the culture here is, since you are meeting the highest, the best, the noblest, when you are going to meet the highest, the best, the noblest, how you should go? Purified. Correct? That purification is self-correction. That purification is called self-correction. So you self-correct so that you are fit to go and stand in front of, you are making yourself fit. Purida? Mala. So self-correction is not opposite of bhakti. Self-correction is a preparation for, self-correction is a step number 1. That's why I'm giving this example. Are you able to follow? When you meet the king, when you meet the Prime Minister, you will put on your best clothes, no? Isn't it? You will go shopping for that, isn't it? Even if you don't have a best clothes, you will go shopping, no? Why? For useless Prime Minister, if you do all that, sir, Prime Minister has power, sir. God get Prime Minister at least can sign something and give you. No. God get sir. Mala, correct? For ordinary Prime Minister, if you do this, shopping and everything, when God is coming, what will you do? Yeah. God is coming, Goddess is coming. You clean up everything. You clean up everything around you. You are clean. Everything around you is cleaned. Why? This cleaning process is self-effort. This cleaning process is called self-effort. Why? Because when you stand in front of the highest, you want to be the best, isn't it? Unfortunately, God with a pombo, we go beggarly. Unfortunately, what Ramatirtha says is, instead of going to God like this, you go like a beggar. That beggarly God, going to, what is that beggarly status with which we go to God? Artaha, artharthi, jignasu. Going to God for a material benefit, going to God for a solace, or going to God for some entertainment. So bhakti without self-effort cannot be called as bhakti at all. Mala, purida po. Bhakti cannot be called as self-effort, because that's why they say, don't go and ask all these questions. Observe this. Yeah. Observe all this. Don't ask questions. If you ask these questions, they will shoot you down, isn't it? Simple example. When you are cooking for God, you will shower first. When you are cooking for yourself, when will you shower? After cooking only. Why? Because you are cooking for yourself. Third chapter, Teliva Soltar. Third chapter, he said it very clearly. What? Those who cook for themselves cook food and eat sin. When you are cooking, it is food. When you are eating it, I'm not saying, I know that, no, that is why you don't know whether they cooked or not, whether they prayed or not. You pray before you eat because you don't want to eat sin. Are you able to follow? That's why whether they prayed or not, you don't know. So what do? You pray. And God doesn't eat and all, no. Human beings have to eat through vayulla ponadhan. Yeah. Gods எல்லாம் பார்த்தாலே purify. That's why they show to God. They show to God and God sees it. The very fact that God has seen it, it becomes the prasad. And if God has to see it, how you have to go and present yourself purified. That is why Vedanta Karma Yoga is the primary step. Karma Yoga is a primary step because the only way to purify is through Karma Yoga. That is why you cannot do bhakti without Karma Yoga. இன்னைக்கு எல்லாரும் என்ன நினைச்சுன்னு இருக்கிறா? Straight away they can do bhakti. Karma Yoga is not at all necessary. You will be cooking food but eating sin. Mala, are you okay with this answer? Then comes the next one. Is there anything else? When should I try and change and when should I let go? I guess there is a limit within which we should make changes to the outside. Inside us, compulsory changes are within brackets. Mala, abde ultawa ponum. Yeah. Outside changes na within brackets ponum. Yeah. Inside changes she put within brackets. Abde maathum avlo da answer adu. Yeah. Change the brackets. Answer you will get. Because she has typed, I guess there is a limit within which we should make changes to the outside. Within brackets she writes, inside us compulsory changes are required. That within brackets. For which I am saying change the brackets. What is changing the brackets means? I guess there is a limit within which we should make changes to the outside. That within brackets. Inside you, how should I know the limit for the external? The question that is, how should I know the limit for the external? In relation to the external, there is only one thing. What? Your presence must be inspiring. That is the limit. Your presence must be inspiring to the other and the other changes because of that inspiration. So what is the limit to the external? Inspire. Mala, are you able to understand? Very difficult, but this is the only way it works. There is no other way it works. What is the way to change the external? Inspire. That's where he says, be a lighthouse, he says. Become a lighthouse. You follow? Become a lighthouse. Whoever is qualified, that person will get inspired and change. Whoever is qualified, carefully follow this. Whoever is qualified, not the person you want. You become a towering personality and that's it. Whoever is qualified will change. Looking at you, getting inspired will change. Not the specific person that you want. But you want to inspire a specific person. Yeah. Venkatesan da maatrar adukku ellathukum. Venkatesana? Avaru da maatrar. Edhukku avaru maatruveenga? Why change that person? Inspire, and whoever is qualified will get inspired. You follow? What is the limit? Become an inspiring person and that's it. And how can you inspire? Your efforts. Your tapas, your efforts is the inspiration. Your tapas and your efforts is the is the inspiration. Are you okay, Malla? Punjada? Last one we conclude. Narayan. In verse number 14, you elaborated the many vows. In which textbook can we find the list of those vows? One reference is the Yama Niyama list. The Yama Niyama list. Adana you are referring to. In verse number 14, we gave a list, Yama and Niyama. That Yama and Niyama comes in the Dharma Shastra's text, also in Patanjali Yoga Sutras. In the 8 limbs of yoga which Patanjali talks about, he talks about it as Yama and Niyama, and he gives a list of Yama and Niyama. So what do? Wherever we talk about Vratam, we borrow that. Because in Bhagavad Gita, he is not giving the list, he is simply saying Vratam. Where do we get the list of Vratam? If I go and ask my grandmother what is the list of Vratam, now she will say, Sambar idli saappalam, sambar sadam saappadakudadu, she will say. Yeah. According to her, Vratam means shifting from sambar rice to Shrikant. Sambar idli saaptana, sambar sadam saaptana. Both are one and the same only. Therefore, who will I go and ask for the Vratam? So we borrow from the other texts. And where do we borrow it from? And when we borrow the text should be as authoritative as Bhagavad Gita. We can't just borrow it from any roadside publication, and we cannot borrow that list. So that list also has to come from an authoritative source. What is that source? Another, we give references also. This Yama Niyama list is taken from the Dharma Shastras, also from Patanjali Yoga Sutra, Yama Niyama. And I won't say later text, all this was in the culture during Arjuna's time. They know the list by heart. Because I have studied this Dharma Shastra, because I have studied this Yoga Sutra and all that, this list they know by heart. So whenever Krishna uses the word Vratam, Arjuna will straight away understand it as Yama Niyama that he is referring to. You follow? So where is that list? One authoritative source is Dharma Shastra. Another authoritative source is Patanjali Yoga Sutra, Yama and Niyama. Did I answer you?
Yes, but we don't have both these sources, so you have to give us an abstract.
That's why we take it up. That's why instead of saying refer that book, I take the relevant portions and elaborate it.
All right.
That's why instead of saying refer that book, I take the relevant portions and I elaborate it. And when I elaborate it, the source has to be acknowledged. Not source has to be acknowledged. Who are we to acknowledge the Shastras? We don't acknowledge them with gratitude, with reverence. With reverence, not reference. With reverence, with bhakti, with gratitude, we take guidance from them. Vratam you solitarna, Vratam guidance I take from Dharma Shastra and Yama Niyama Patanjali. That's the attitude with which we go. Because for us it is one Shastra, one whole thing. And not everything can be said in one Radhanala, it's spread out. So what do? We try to gather as much as possible from where. Why? Because Krishna is mentioning that. Because in that context, when Krishna uses the word Vratam, people understand what Vratam is. And it is relevant even today. The same Vratam is relevant even today. That's why, like a joke I said, if I go and ask my grandmother What is Vratam? What she will give as a list of Vratam has got nothing to do with. She is not saying the wrong thing, but that is not Vratam. So what do? I take it from sources and elaborate. Is it okay? Yeah. With this, we conclude for today and we continue from 20 onwards in the next term.